Made it to Chapter 3, but the whiteouts are still a threat. Ice turns to steam as the whiteout wanes, but it's clear that we are far from keeping New London warm forever.
The whiteouts are not gone. What will we do if the horrors of the whiteout years return?
Asked the stalwarts.
If we want to withstand them without fear, we must improve the generator even more, and that will require a great deal of cores. Dozens.
We only know of one site with so many cores. The metal roots of Winterhome's ruined generator. Our current generator will not be enough. We need to colonize Winterhome to get more cores to upgrade the generator further. We need to change our plans. We do indeed, and I'm happy that they mentioned a specific location where we can find cores, because I was having extreme trouble finding them earlier. I never did build that deep melting drill. Colonize Winterhome. Past the gorge in the Cursed Valley lies the failed city of Winterhome. Our scouts have avoided the ruins for years, yet without its cores we cannot upgrade the generator to its full potential. We must reach for Winterhome and chart the area around it. We should take the time to prepare resources and workforce. Returning to Winterhome will pose a significant challenge. I see. It's time to prepare to go back home to Winterhome. As mysteriously as he appeared, he disappeared. Venom has left. I don't know where he went or why, but it's one less problem for me to solve, so I'm okay with that. I have two new goals. The first one is that I need to find the Winterhome ruins. Then I need to prepare Winterhome for colonization. This seems relatively easy to complete, but I'm sure it's not as easy as it seems. The area I need to explore is blocked by the whiteout, so I'm going to have to skip that for now, and also, my team has finished exploring the Steam Valley, so I can see what they've discovered over here. They have discovered 2 items. One of them should be the hot springs. I'm not sure what the other one could be though, so let's check it out. The first item my team discovered is the hot springs. Surprise, surprise. And it's actually settled still, which is actually surprising, because I thought everybody for sure died over here. It has a population of approximately 3,500 people. These hard people live in deep reverence of the natural spring, which they believe can cure any ailment. Their simple hothouses and subterranean housing are barely enough to support their population, so their culture ensures nothing is wasted and no weakness is tolerated. I respect that. They are skeptical of outsiders, but perhaps we can convince them, or force them, to allow our sick to heal at the natural spring. If we have access and a trail to the hot springs, we can reduce disease. Ooh. I like the sound of that. So my options here are to either convince them to give us access to the hot springs or force them to do so. I don't really want to force these people to give us access to the hot springs because I think they'd be way more powerful as allies than enemies. What's a guy gotta do to convince them to let us access that spring? The hot springs, as people say, that they will give us access if we rebuild the loading station at the High Pass and their mushroom experiment somewhere in the Endless Plains. That's reasonable, but what is a mushroom experiment? I think that's more proof that we need these people as allies, not enemies, because that sounds interesting. Rebuilding 2 locations is most likely going to take a lot of materials, which I seem to run out of quite often. What would I need to force them out of the hot springs? 30 guard squads. That is double the amount that I have. That is a hostile takeover for sure. And something I'm not capable of because I don't know how to grow guard squads. In other words, I'm sticking with convincing them. I will come back to the hot springs once I've rebuilt those 2 locations for them. The first location that needs to be rebuilt has already been discovered. It's down here. Can I rebuild it now? No, but I could dismantle it. That's kind of the opposite of what I'm going for though. If I were to dismantle the station, I could get a bunch of prefabs and cores, which makes it a very tempting option, but I think I'll stick with rebuilding it. What do I need to do to rebuild the station? I would need to acquire 200 prefabs and build a trail from this to the city. 200 prefabs plus the amount of prefabs I'd be using to build the trail from this to the city is a lot of materials. I could most likely build this now, just build the trail and then rebuild the station because I do have over 300 prefabs at this moment. But I'm going to wait until I discover the mushroom experiment and then build the station. If I were to spend that amount of materials now, I would be spending a lot of materials and not getting anything in return. Meanwhile, if I wait until I find the mushroom experiment, I can rebuild both locations and then get access to the hot springs, which in theory, if we believe these hot springs work, would heal my workforce and allow my workforce to grow stronger. Going back to the Steam Valley, the second thing my team discovered was a nameless cliff. Is this the same team that discovered thin ice? If so, they're on a roll. I should send them out more often. Maybe next time they'll discover a mound of snow in the Frostland. Anywho, many small mounds under a cliff attracted our scouts' attention. They discovered hundreds of infant skeletons. A track from the top of the cliff leads to the hot springs. We can only assume they have their reasons for doing this. Perhaps we can offer to take any children the hot springs cannot support to New London. That is very disturbing, but it seems like a type of population control, because it said that they didn't have much space. Which means they probably do not have enough space to take care of a bunch of newborn babies. Instead of casting their elders out, they just cast the infants out instead. If I were to take the infants in, my population would be marginally increased and my percentage of active workers would be slightly decreased. Similar to the idea that caused the law productive outsiders only are let into the city, I cannot accept a bunch of infants into the city. They would be a drain on our resources, and quite frankly, we don't have enough resources for even our current population. I realize that the thought process here is probably that we let the infants in and then they grow up and grow into an active workforce, but I don't think that's probable at this moment. So I'll come back to it later and potentially we'll let them in because it would be good for the future, but for now, I don't think it's a great idea. We need to create a sustainable lifestyle for those who are capable of working before we can let members of society who can't work into our society. In other words, I'm going to wait until I have a surplus of materials in most areas before I let them in. The whiteout is still in my way of exploring the gorge where the Winterhome ruins may be, so I'm going to launch an expedition into the plains to find the mushroom experiment. It looks like I can potentially find prefabs, goods, and food here. Let's go, and hopefully by the time that this finishes, the whiteout will have cleared the gorge and I can search for Winterhome. In order to solve my materials problem, I am going to build an extraction district here on this near infinite source of materials. It also appears that some coal has resurfaced on the right side of the city. It's very small amounts and I unfortunately can't use it because the generator has been switched to use only oil. I also have a second material spot up here that's near infinite that I could build on as well. I'm going to start with the one that's on the bottom of the map because the one that's on the left side is by people's homes. I don't think they want to hear drilling all day and night. Instead, this one will be built by other industrial and extraction districts. Not to mention, I think that would increase squalor in those housing districts if I built a extraction or industrial district right next to them. I'm trying to decrease the squalor in the city, not increase it. My people have something to say about pressure point. Steward. A handful of desperate pilgrims gathered in front of the generator earlier today. One spoke to the gathering crowd as they painted themselves in oil. She detailed a different plan for Winterhome, one that would breathe a second life into the cursed land.
We cannot destroy Winterhome for its cores. We must settle it. We must adapt. This is our last chance to make you hear us. Steward, we must be loud.
And with that, they set themselves alight. Rescue teams were able to save the would-be martyrs, but our people are clearly shaken by the immolation. The stalwarts urge you to get ahead of the narrative. Before people are swayed to their cause, what should we do? The pilgrims may protest if relations continue to worsen. Honestly, settling Winterhome is not completely off the board for me. It could still happen. Winterhome was once a successful city, but then something happened and now it's not. That's the only reason why I don't want to settle it, is because I don't know what went wrong, and if it could happen again. In this situation, I have two options. One is to spin the narrative, and the second is to ignore it. If I choose to spin the narrative, the pilgrims' fervor is increased and relations improve with the stalwarts. However, if I choose to ignore it, the pilgrims may gain new members. I am trying to improve my relationship with the pilgrims. So as much as I would love to spin the narrative, I feel like I can't do it. I must ignore it. I trust our people to interpret the situation appropriately. I give my people the freedom to choose to support whichever factions they feel like most align with their ideals. If they agree with the pilgrims' ideology, I'm not going to stop that. Guys, I'm doing it. Sorry, that was kind of random. What I meant to say was I finally figured out how to use the deep melting drill. You have to place it in a location that has infinite materials, or near infinite materials, for it to work. That's why it was not working for me at the old Dreadnought. There is no infinite resources at the old Dreadnought location. However, in the city here, there is plenty. I'm hoping this particular one can help me stop squalor in the city. My people dream of utopia. Don't we all? Steward. To the delight of the stalwarts, our city is now firmly embracing progress and appears to be on the path to making progress a cornerstone of our society.
We must ensure that our city never aligns with adaptation.
Declared a member of the stalwarts.
We need to fully embrace progress.
All adaptation laws and buildings will increase tension as long as progress is high. Stalwarts' fervor is increased. I see. How am I doing with the tension in the city? It's currently at severe. It used to be catastrophic, so it's gone down. That's still not good. It's pretty bad, actually. actually, but I see it lists the laws and buildings I may have to consider getting rid of if it hits catastrophic again. One of the laws listed was conservative treatment, but the only other option is unregulated treatment, which has no effects. I remember I strictly chose conservative treatment to decrease the amount of disease in the city and increase our active workforce. If I were to choose unregulated treatment instead, I would be basically undoing this and making it harder for me to do anything in the city because, again, I'd be at that problem where I wouldn't have enough workforce. I'm assuming that the other laws and buildings that are creating tension are similar in effect, where I installed them or proposed them to solve problems. That's why I'm going to ignore the tension for now. My people have something to say about caustic fog.
Steward.
The city streets have become engulfed in a thick yellow fog, irritating the eyes and throat. Hundreds of people have taken ill. While some blame our industry, others point to the foul combustibles that some people burn to keep warm. Temporarily banning them would mitigate the problem, but may expose the poorest citizens to the colder temperatures. We could also manufacture filtration masks. This would reduce our goods production capacity for a while, but allow our citizens to keep on living normally. What should we do? Squalor has reached a catastrophic level. I have noticed this. So my options in this situation are to either ban the non-approved combustibles, manufacture filtration masks, or solve squalor differently. I am already trying to solve squalor differently, but it doesn't seem to be working. What would happen if I ban the non-approved combustibles? Squalor would be decreased, but the cold is slightly increased. What would happen if I manufacture filtration masks instead? Disease would be decreased, and the goods demand per capita would be extremely increased. Something I cannot have happen because I don't have enough goods as is. These non-approved combustibles seem to be the main problem, and if I choose to solve it differently, I believe it would just, yes, never bring it up again. I'm going to choose to ban the non-approved combustibles because I feel like our citizens could take a little bit colder districts. Due to my attempts to heat them all to warm, I don't think anybody should be dying of frostbite anytime soon. We ought to be mindful of the quality of our air lest it kill us instead of the cold. Non-approved combustibles have been banned. Citizens can only use approved combustibles. And I can't believe I have to say this, I do not approve the pilgrims as a combustible. Scratch that, I don't approve the use of any living being as a combustible. No burning yourselves or friends alive, thank you. Side note, my deep melting drill is doing quite well. I may need to build that second one when I get a chance. My Frostland team has finished exploring the endless plains, and they have discovered 2 new items. The first item is the Hot Springs Mushroom Cave. Could this be the mushroom experiment? Our scouts found a variety of mushrooms growing within the different depths of this cave. Broken heat pipes run through the caverns. The scouts suspect this place was an attempt by the Hot Springs' populace to develop a heartier food source. We could take the mushrooms to add more variety to our hothouses, or we could repair the facility and share its benefits with the Hot Springs' people. Well, you already know what my plan is, but what would happen if we took the mushrooms? It would require 5 Frostland teams and it would increase our food production efficiency. I don't think we really need that though, because we do have a huge surplus of food right now. What do I need to repair the heating systems? I would need 200 prefabs, and I currently only have 65, so I will come back later once I've collected all the prefabs I need to repair the heating systems. Let's take a look to see what the second item my team discovered is. It is bone traders. Some people from the Hot Springs have started to market for goods crafted from bone. It appears that a herd of muskox froze in the valley. They have made use of every part of the frozen beasts to sustain themselves, including their bones. The traders are on the verge of starving. They will happily give us their goods for some food. Well, 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 would you look at that? I happen to have a surplus of food and a lack of goods, and they have the complete opposite. In other words, I think we can do some business here today. What do they propose? They want 5,000 food in exchange for 25,000 goods. This is a win for me. I'm sure there's some people out there that would be like, it's animal bones, it's haunted, it's cursed, but I don't care. I am taking all 25,000 of this back to the city to help with our problem with low goods. I have finally gathered enough materials to fix the heating systems at the Mushroom Cave. Both we and the Hot Springs people can benefit from developing hardy new crops here. Let's start the harvest and increase my surplus of food even more. We can never have too much food for our city, that's for sure. It doesn't look like the whiteout has completely cleared the gorge yet, but it is explorable. The Serpentine Gorge is the hallmark of the approach to New London, promising safe return home, and it also may be the location of Winterhome. Let's launch this expedition and see if we can't find those runes. It'll take 15 weeks to complete. In the meantime, we can focus on some other things.
The generator is off and no longer providing heat.
Yeah, this is still happening. I'm not sure why it keeps running out of oil. It's possible that I'm transferring too much to New London since they have a small surplus, but it's a very small surplus, so I don't want the city accidentally shutting down. I'd much rather have the old Dreadnought shutting down than the entire city. But I've gone ahead and changed the transfer amounts between the old Dreadnought and New London to hopefully stop the constant shutdowns and restarts. It has gotten way more extremely annoying now that the announcer has started announcing every time it shuts down and restarts. As the research on the turbocharged dispatchers completes, the New Londoners' demands have been met, our relationship with them improves, and trust rises. It's time to start the next research project, and this time it will be for the Frostlanders' demands. They wanted to research the Carrion Coal Liquefactor. It is a facility using accelerated decomposition processes to synthesize oil from a mix of coal and organic waste materials. Sounds useful, and I could always use more oil. If built, this would give me 80 oil in exchange for 60 coal. That is something I can't afford since I forgot to stop mining coal when we switched to oil, so I have a surplus of it now. The only negatives this would have is that it would increase the disease in the city, increase material demand, and also slightly increase the tension in the city. Marginally increase the tension in the city. I may not build this building soon, but it is time to start research. Since my trade with the bone traders, I now have a surplus of goods that will last me 170 weeks, which is good because I can stop focusing on trying to produce goods now and just focus on collecting materials. Hopefully we can prolong that surplus if I get enough materials. Right now they are virtually non-existent. Even with my deep melting drill, the Frostlanders' demands have been met. Oh, I'm sorry, they have been failed. I ran out of time. That means my relationship with the Frostlanders decreases and trust falls. That's terrible. I'm still researching that project for them and it's like 40% done right now. Oh well. My people have a new message for me about waning trust. Oh no, we know what this is. I'm literally doing what they want me to do and now they're threatening to exile me. The steward must not fall. But I always fall in the council hall. Verge of failure. I will restore the trust as I always do. I have a new goal on my board, which is to restore the overall trust to tolerated or higher. If I fail this, I will be exiled to the Frostland. What actions can I take to improve my relationship with the New Londoners? I could fund their projects, make a promise, or grant their agenda. Funding their projects would only take heat stamps, but I don't know exactly what that would do. Let's try it out. I have given the New Londoners 158 heat stamps and they will spend it to advance their interests. I'm interested to see what that actually entails. It did increase my overall trust by a small bit. I'm going to do the same exact action with the Pilgrims as well. I'm going to fund their projects to advance their interests. Being the party that I have the worst relationship with, I should focus on trying to improve that relationship over time. That would stop this event from continuously happening over and over. In the same train of thought, I should probably do the same thing with the Frostlanders because they are hostile as well. I cannot fund their projects at the moment, but I could make a promise. What does this do? It brings up Frostlanders negotiations. Steward, your relationship with the Frostlanders will improve if you promise to enact one of their suggestions. Which of their proposals will you pledge to support? I could choose to promise to research the waste repurposing facility, promise to heat their homes, or promise to build the moss filtration tower. Oh, so it's similar to the council hall agreements that we make. But instead of swaying the votes, I'm getting a better reputation. I am going to build the moss filtration tower for them. That way I can increase my relationship with them and decrease squalor at the same time. I will also be making a promise to the stalwarts. In order to better my relationship with the stalwarts, I will agree to research the automated workforce factory. This is exactly what it sounds like, a factory that would produce automated workforce for me. There's a little more to it than that, but it sounds awesome, so I am definitely going to promise to research this for the stalwarts, and for myself. I really don't want to promise too much stuff, so I think I'm going to stop with those two promises and then wait until I complete those to make more promises. My team has finished their exploration of the gorge and have discovered 2 items. The first item is a weather station. This outpost once predicted temperature drops for Winterhome. The peak is visible for miles around, the ideal place for a beacon to help travelers reach New London. It increases population growth. So we are pretty close to the ruins of Winterhome now. I don't really need any population growth at this time, but I could always use more active workers. So with that train of thought, I will build the trails now in hopes that I can increase my active workforce by letting more people into the city. I do still have the law that only allows productive outsiders into the city active, so hopefully that will assist in my cause of increasing my workforce by turning away the members of society that would not be so useful. It's a good thing that we discovered this after the whiteout, because if we had discovered this before the whiteout, we would be drowning in useless individuals. The second item my team discovered is the Winterhome Bridge, so not the Winterhome ruins yet. Remains of the old bridge leading to Winterhome. An ominous sign hangs from the nearest side. Only death. death lies beyond. Whether it was left by would-be jokers or superstitious scouts is unclear. This seems like the only warning that would be telling the truth. I mean, we've seen warnings before of places being cursed and whatnot, but this one seems like it's true. Only death does lie beyond. Winterhome died a long time ago. However, I'm not quite sure how it died. That's the part that kind of bothers me, but we need to uncover what happened in Winterhome, and especially we need to recover anything left behind that could help us defeat the Frost. It's time to venture forth and explore the Cursed Valley, once I have Frostland teams available for it. The Serpentine Gorge is the hallmark of anyone approaching New London, promising a safe return home. North of it, there should be an abandoned coal mine. Ooh, I want to find it, but I don't need any more coal right now. Let me see if I can't track down some teams to explore this valley for me. How many team members do I have over here at the Hot Springs Mushroom Cave? 10. That would be more than enough to explore the Cursed Valley. So let me turn this off and they can go on this expedition for me. I really don't need the mushrooms at this time because I have a giant surplus of food. Winterhome, or finding Winterhome, is way more important. While I wait for that team to finish their exploration, it's time for me to build up some materials so I can rebuild this Hot Springs refuge. How much do I actually need? 200 prefabs. Oh, and a trail to the city. Okay, so I have 250. Let me see if I can build the trail now. How should I go about doing this? I think, ooh, I can connect it to another trail right by London here. Or what's the closest point? This is the closest point, so if I connect it here, this would take the least amount of materials for me. Let's connect here and then go to here, and that should be it. No, I don't have enough materials. I need the Frostland teams is what I need. I had to close down the Mushroom Cave in order to get enough people to explore the Cursed Valley. Where am I going to get more teams from? The other trail I was building was already completed before my team left for the Cursed Valley, so I don't have the option of waiting for that trail to finish. It's already done. Maybe I can take people from the weather station. Yes, that would be perfect, and then I'll just let them go back after the trail is done. I probably could have shut down that before I shut down the Mushroom Cave, because the Mushroom Cave seems more useful than the weather station, but what's done is done. Let me see if I can build the trail now. Let me connect it again to this point up here because it's the closest to where we're going, and then actually I can shorten this road here like this, and finally I connect it to the pin on the map, and that trail is completed. Now all I need to do is rebuild the actual station when the trail completes building. We are so close to making new allies in the Frostland, and of course healing our people as well. The carrion coal liquefactor has finished researching, so it's time to start my next project into the automated workforce for the stalwarts. It is a radical idea. It is a plant that manufactures advanced machines that can assume control over operations in any facility. I absolutely love this idea because it would produce almost 2,000 workforce. I think most buildings only take about 300 to 500 workforce to run at max capacity, which can be decreased with laws or stockpile hubs. The only downsides is that it would significantly increase squalor, decrease the temperature level, and the upkeep would be oil, which is hard to get. It's not impossible to get, but to get that much excess oil that we could use for this building would be challenging. Let's start the research on this idea, and hopefully we'll be able to build it sometime in the future. I have now collected enough materials to rebuild the Hot Springs Refuge. Once this building is completed, I can ask for access to the hot springs. Let the process begin. Did it finish that fast? Usually there's a building symbol. Can I go over here and befriend the Hot Springs people already? That would be very fast. And yes, I can access the spring. Some of our sick and wounded will recover faster with these warm waters. It allows the creation of an outpost to reduce disease. Becoming allies with these people instead of forcefully taking the hot springs has gained us a healing source and a food source. Let's connect those trails to the city to begin our people's healing journey. I'm guessing I need to connect it all the way down here to this pin where the refuge is. Just like so. And once that path is built, our people's healing journey can begin and my active workforce increases. Decreasing the overall disease in the city increases my active workforce because most of my inactive workforce is diseased or completely injured. In order to raise the overall trust and slightly improve my relationship with the pilgrims, I am going to, well, as tempting as it is to condemn them, I am going to promote them. I absolutely hate promoting them because that means their party's growing bigger and stronger instead of shrinking to absolute nothingness like I wanted before. I wanted to promote the stalwarts as well, but I can't. I guess you can only promote one party at a time, and I'm already working on a promise for them as well. Maybe I can do something for the Frostlanders? No, absolutely nothing. It's all grayed out. I do still have an active promise with them as well to build the moss filtration tower, which I now have enough workforce and materials to build. The only question left is where should I build it? I should probably build it in one of the housing districts since they seem to be the worst with where. There is 3 locations I can build this. Out of those 3 locations, I chose the location in the valley because I feel like that would have the worst air quality. It's basically in a hole next to the city center, so it can't have that great of airflow there. With the moss filtration tower finally built, the Frostlanders' demands have been met, our relationship with them improves, and overall trust rises. My Frostland team has finished exploring the Cursed Valley and have discovered 2 new items. The first item is a Dreadnought Husk. An ancient, empty Dreadnought hole towers over the flat snow. Our scouts met some people in shelters living on the leeward sides, who claim the mighty machine was stripped clean long before they arrived. The people have asked us to take them to New London, if only so they can be farther away from the ruins of Winterhome.
Everyone who goes there comes back with a cough that only worsens,
one of the many camp leaders said.
Stay away.
Everyone keeps warning me about Winterhome. They want me to stay away, but that just makes me want to go there more to see what's happened there and, of course, collect those plentiful cores. With this group, I have the choice to take the Frostlanders in or come back later. I will come back later, because taking 2,000 more Frostlanders into the city when they are a hostile faction towards me is not in my best interest. I want to decrease the amount of hate in the city towards me, not bring more in from the outside. I'll consider returning to this location to collect the Frostlanders later if my relationship ever improves with them in the city. Moving on, the second item my team discovered, could it finally be the ruins of Winterhome? It is at last the ruins of Winterhome. Oh dear, I clicked the wrong button.
Way to ruin the moment, man.
The ruins of Winterhome! Somebody needs to fire that trumpet player, that was terrible. Winterhome has a cursed history. A series of corrupt leaders pushed the city's generator beyond its limits. At last, a competent captain took charge, but by then, the generator had been permanently damaged and doomed to explode. Ah, so that's what happened. The city's people had no choice but to gather all they could to a nearby dreadnought and take their chances in the Frostland. Rumor has it that the ruins still hold valuable resources, but our scouts avoid the site, fearing toxic gases leaking from fissures in the ground, and ghosts that wail through the night. I see. My choices here are to explore the site or declare this place dead and move on. Well, I already knew that this place was going to be dead. I didn't expect it to be alive and thriving. That would have actually been very confusing to me if I got here and there was already a huge population living here. In order to explore the site, I need to connect a trail to this point and send colonists. That's easy. Sounds a bit too easy, though. The time has come to make use of the cursed city. The first step is to connect the trail from here to the city. Much like my previous trails, I should see if I can connect it to another trail so I can save resources. I was not on the correct path screen. I should be here. And wow, is there a lot of information I missed. It looks like the site is loaded with goodies. We got geothermal, prefabs, and of course the cores, coal, iron, food, and wood. This place has unlimited potential to help our society. It's very dangerous, but it is worth the risk for that much reward. The Winterhome ruins. Scouts report the valley is filled with toxic miasma, seeping from chasms in the ground, seemingly made by a huge explosion. That would be the generator explosion, something I hope that never happens in New London. In an effort to make the site more hospitable, we could force an avalanche down the valley, covering some of the fissures, but we could bury the technological roots of the city forever. That's definitely an option. However, not one I would go for because I want as much as I can get from this city, and that seems like it would destroy a lot of potential. If we want to access the foundations of the destroyed generator and salvage the cores within, we have to demolish the last of the ruins and crack the ground open even more. Once our colonists arrive, we will have to choose. This is an extremely dangerous place. We better come prepared. We can establish a colony here. The second option is way more dangerous, but it yields way more potential. I'll still consider the avalanche idea, but most likely I'm going to go with option 2. The avalanche idea sounds to me like we're giving up. It's similar to the Pilgrim's idea of adapting to the frost instead of trying to defeat the frost. I'd much rather continue my goal of defeating the frost than trying to adapt to each situation. Where am I going to place this path at? Oh, it can go very far. I'm sure that would take a ton of resources. Can I connect it to this path over here? It looks like I can. Yes. Perfect. Once that's built, I can look into sending my colonists into Winterhome. As the research into the automated workforce factory completes, the stalwarts' demands have been met. Our relationship with them improves and overall trust rises. In my attempts to raise the overall trust in the city, it's time to remind the citizens of New London who my favorite party is. Join the stalwarts, everybody, and help us defeat the Frost. Ooh, look at how much trust I gained from doing that. Even with that great progress, I am still despised. Let me see what I can do with my second favorite party, the New Londoners, to gain even more trust. I could grant their agenda, but there's nothing left to do in the council hall, so let me make a promise to them instead. I could promise to research the waste incineration facility or promise to pass the city development effort. I am not replacing one of my laws, so let me promise to research the waste incineration facility. What is it? It's a facility that gathers and burns rubbish in order to keep the city clean. It would slightly increase the disease in the city, greatly decrease the squalor, it would require 225 workforce, and also lower the temperature by 1 level. Overall, that doesn't sound like a terrible idea, and all I have to do is research it, which I can do right now. I don't need to build it yet. Let the research begin. While I'm in a giving mood, let me see what I can't give to the pilgrims, my not-so-favorite party. I will make them a promise as well. I have 3 options to choose from for them. I can promise to build a carry-on coal liquefactor, promise to pass ceremonial funerals, or promise to research the weather-adjusted shifts. I'm not changing any of my laws. I'm already working on a research project, so that only leaves me with 1 option. I need to build the carry-on coal liquefactor for the pilgrims. What is it, you ask? It is a facility using accelerated decomposition processes to synthesize oil from a mix of coal and organic waste materials. In other words, it's a building that should give us more oil from our back stock of coal, which is very useful because I have a huge surplus of coal that I got when I forgot to turn off the coal mine after we got the oil. Speaking of getting materials, this wood extraction district has stopped getting materials, so I am now going to demolish it and get my building materials back. The path to the ruins of Winterhome has completed, which means I can send my colonists over. Once I've collected 20 Frostland teams and 300 prefabs. The Frostland teams are easy to gather, but the prefabs are going to be a little harder because I only have 125 right now out of 300. I'm not sure how often I get prefabs and how much prefabs I get when I do get them, so I will come back there once I've gathered 300. While I wait for that to happen, I need to repair my relationship with my citizens. I don't want to be exiled before we get a chance to explore Winterhome. That would be a tragedy. In my last attempt to improve my relationship with the citizens, I worked with all parties except the Frostlanders. Maybe I can make a promise to them as well, but I don't know if I'll be able to get it done in time. I have 3 choices to choose from. I can promise to research the bio-waste hothouse, promise to pass foraged additives, or promise to pass durable goods. So there's 1 research project and 2 laws. I could just ignore the problem and decline to promise anything, but that would not solve anything. Since I'm still unwilling to change any of my laws, that only gives me 1 option, which is to research the bio-waste hothouses. They are industrial-sized hothouses where organic waste ferments in large vats, fertilizing revolving shelves of crops. It gives me 87 food, it slightly increases the disease, and it requires 300 workforce. Not to mention it also marginally increases tension in the city. Let's promise to research that. It's not a building I see becoming useful anytime soon, but if I have the resources to do it, I'll research it, just to improve my relationship with the Frostlanders. My only worry is that I'm gonna run out of time before I get a chance to research it, and it will damage my relationship with the Frostlanders even further than it already is. How is my overall trust level doing? I am still despised. It seems like a major factor of that is the emergency shifts currently going on in different districts. What if I go to districts such as this one here where the emergency shift is active and start turning them all off? I mean, eventually the trust is restored after doing 1 district. My people's faith has been restored, and I can continue to hold my position as steward. Let's be honest though, there wasn't really a question if I would keep my steward position or not. They keep threatening to exile me, but they need me, so I continue to be the steward. What is my overall trust level now? I am tolerated, which means that they may continue to throw temper tantrums in the future. Running the city is very much like running a preschool, except some of the children threaten to light themselves on fire instead of stealing other kids' crayons. I still need to gather 300 prefabs for Winterhome, but I am going to use 100 prefabs to build the carry-on coal liquefactor to fulfill my current agreement with the Pilgrims. I have already built a coal extraction district on top of some coal deposits I've discovered earlier. That is where this will be built, or at least I thought it was. It's not going to let me place it there. Back to square one. Why can't I build it here? That seems like the most logical place to build it, because that's where the coal is. Let's check out the district. So it's not yet insulated, and there is 1 building slot available. Let me insulate the district so my people don't freeze to death there. And maybe if I go through the district, it'll pop up. It did not. I'm getting a whole different list of buildings. What type of district does it need to be built in? Oh, I need to build it in an industrial district not an extraction district. I have 2 industrial districts that I could potentially go into. I just need to wait a few minutes until I get the correct resources again. I used my heat stamps and prefabs to insulate the last district. Both of my industrial districts are at their maximum capacity for buildings, so I need to expand one of them, therefore using even more heat stamps and prefabs. I chose to expand this one, and I'm just going to expand it out to the side a little bit. It doesn't really matter where I expand to, it just needs to be expanded so it gets that second building slot. I also started frost breaking near the other industrial district, just in case I need to expand that later. The squalor in the city is astrophic. Whatever that means. I think it's supposed to say catastrophic, but it cut off somehow. The expansion for the industrial district has completed, which means I can build the carrion coal liquefactor once I've regained all the materials I need. I need to stop mindlessly spending all my heat stamps and prefabs on insulating and fixing districts. It's become a habit at this point, and I need those materials for the carrion coal liquefactor and Winterhome. It's going to take forever to get to Winterhome if I keep doing all these mindless tasks. I have successfully collected all the materials I need to build the carrion coal liquefactor. I'm interested to see how this is going to affect our oil levels, because we're always struggling to get just enough oil for New London and the Old Dreadnought together. The research on the waste incineration facility has completed, which means the New Londoners' demands have been met. Our relationship with them has improved, and overall trust has risen. It's time to start my next research project into the bio-waste hothouses for the Frostlanders. This is an industrial-sized hothouse where organic waste ferments in large vats, fertilizing revolving shelves of crops, and it can be installed in only food districts. If installed in these districts, it would produce an extra 87 units of food. This number was originally 70, but it was increased by my chemical additives law, which is a nice little detail. On the negative side of things, it would slightly increase the disease in the city and marginally increase the city's tension. That could become a huge problem if we build too many of these buildings, but luckily I don't see the need to build even one yet. This building would also unlock the excessive fertilization district ability, which increases the food output and disease for that district. Let's let those researchers begin their research, but again, I don't see a use for that building ever coming up. As the carrion coal liquefactor completes building, the Pilgrims' demands have been met, our relationship with them improves, and overall trust rises. My people have a new message about squalor. Steward, we're struggling with squalor. A group of pilgrims have come forward with an idea on how to solve it.
We should research waste repurposing facility. Let us pursue it, and the city will benefit.
The pilgrims look with distrust at what the other communities propose. They would surely appreciate you getting behind their idea. The pilgrims want to research the waste repurposing facility to solve problems with squalor. I have 4 possible options for the situation. I can investigate the solution that they've presented, I can construct a maintenance hub, I can handle squalor in another way, or I can disregard the issue. I'm already going to disregard 2 of those options because I am handling squalor in another way already, and I don't want to disregard the issue because it is an issue that I want to solve. If I choose to investigate the solution, I would have 60 weeks to research the preferred solution to the problem, and in doing so, I would marginally increase my relationship with the pilgrims. That's not a bad solution. On the other hand, I could construct the maintenance hub, which I'm not exactly sure what that is. Oh, that's why. I don't have this researched yet, so it would take 80 weeks for me to research the construction maintenance hub and build one as well. That is a lot of steps and resources that I would need for Winterhome. For that reason alone, I am going to investigate the solution that they have proposed. Plus, this solution would marginally improve my relationship with the What is that? What I meant to say is the Pilgrims, which is desperately needed in a city that keeps trying to exile me because of my relationship with the Pilgrims and Frostlanders always being so low. On top of that new agreement, I will also promote them if I can. Yes, I can. This will further improve my relationship with them even more, and the colder season has arrived. This feels like I'm self-sabotaging myself a little bit because their party is growing quite fast, and the parties that actually enjoy my stewardship are shrinking. It would be an ironic ending if what causes my downfall is being nice to the enemy within our walls. Not even the Frost, it's the Pilgrims that end us. Or the Frostlanders, because I am about to fund some of their projects in order to increase my relationship with them as well. I may have just funded my downfall and I have no idea. Honestly, I don't know what they are going to use those funds for, but I hope it's good stuff to help the city survive. not stuff that would lead to my downfall. While I'm in this charitable mood, I should also look into doing something with the stalwarts, my favorite party on the board. You know, my enemies are not the only ones who get attention. I think my best option is going to be to make a promise with them. I have 3 options to choose from. I can choose to promise to research unproductive new maintenance, promise to use mobilize enforcers, or promise to build the waste incineration facility. There's 2 good options, but I am going to go with mobilize enforcers because I'm not quite sure what it does for me, and it takes 2 seconds to complete. I think this will be the fastest I've completed a faction's promise in this game so far. It's just a few quick clicks and then it is completed. Mobilize enforcers. The stalwarts' demands have been met, our relationship with them improves, and overall trust rises. Why can't all promises be this easy? I guess I'd be way too powerful if they were. As the bio-waste hothouses have completed being researched, the Frostlanders' demands have been met, our relationship with them improves, and trust rises. If you're wondering why I'm back at the old Dreadnought, it's because I'm trying to figure out why the generator here at this location keeps turning off. I am getting nowhere with it. I do not know why this is happening. The city is fine, but here keeps turning off, and we don't want these people to freeze to death because these are the people that are getting us the oil. I've been somewhat ignoring the situation here, but I do need this situation solved so that the whole city doesn't die if we run out of oil. That would not be good. In order to fulfill my agreement with the Pilgrims, I need to start research on the waste repurposing facility for them. This is a facility that gathers and sorts through rubbish to retrieve usable materials. In other words, if you throw it out and it's useful, we will find it and reuse it. In order to extremely reduce the squalor in the city and get more materials, plus 40 for whenever this building is built. The only downside is that it would marginally increase the tension in the city, which makes sense because this is the Pilgrims and Frostlanders idea, which opposes my friends the Stalwarts and New Londoners idea. I have just discovered that New London has a surplus of oil while the old Dreadnought is suffering. I don't know how this happened, but I need to change the resource transfer numbers so that the city and the old Dreadnought are sharing the oil. I must have done this when I was originally transferring the oil from the old Dreadnought to New London. I panicked and then I never changed it back. Those numbers look way better, and hopefully that'll stop the old Dreadnought's generator from shutting down and not cause the city's generator to start shutting down as well. My relationship with the Frostlanders has improved quite well, but there is still room for improvement. My next action, if done successfully, could raise my relationship with them to neutral. Let's make a new deal with them. I have 3 options to choose from. I can promise to build the moss filtration tower, I can choose to research the advanced bio-waste hothouses, or I could promise to pass durable goods, but that would replace my law on mass-produced goods, which honestly does not seem worth it from what I see here. It looks like I'm getting far greater rewards from the mass-produced goods than I would be the durable goods. Researching the advanced bio-waste hothouses seems like my best option. It would marginally increase the tension, but that's only if we build it, and I don't have to build it right away. I can just research it first, and then never use it. While I'm making agreements and such with other factions, it's a good time to remind the city who my favorite faction is by promoting the Stalwarts. Wow, that caused a lot of movement on that meter that shows the overall trust, but overall I think it ended up back where it was. In other words, promoting the Stalwarts did absolutely nothing. Maybe if I support the New Londoners as well, I'll see movement on the trust level. I will fund their projects. Here are some heat stamps for you to do with as you'd like. I've selected that option several times and I have not seen any actions occur because of it. I'm curious what they actually do with those heat stamps, or if they're saving them up to accomplish something big. Every time I select that option, I'm notified that they will spend the heat stamps to advance their interests. But that is very vague. Oh, look who joined us again. His return is definitely caused by the tension because look at how this bubbles. It is catastrophic right now. Let me pause the time and see if I can figure out what is going on. I can see that the laws and buildings are affecting the tension, but most of it is coming from the squalor in the city, which is also catastrophic. This is mostly due to the material scarcity in the city. I don't have enough materials to build new buildings, and most importantly, I don't have enough to maintain current buildings. Also, the actuated heat dispatchers that are in almost every district are also causing squalor. The only thing I've done to combat this so far is building moss filtration towers in a few districts, but I need to build more. This will not be a quick fix. It will be a 2-step process where I'll need to find the materials and build extraction districts. In order to gain the materials, I'll need to build more moss filtration towers in more districts. This is a very vicious cycle where I'll need extraction districts to get materials, but in order to build the extraction districts, I'll need materials from the extraction districts I have not built yet. This all needs to be accomplished, by the way, before the city falls into complete chaos. I could always demolish a bunch of the actuated heat dispatchers in the city, and that would solve the problem, but that would create another problem of my people freezing to death. I don't want to solve one problem just to create another problem in its wake. I'd rather solve problems, and if that creates more problems, solve those problems as well, instead of undoing the problems I've already solved, because that would just be undoing the progress I've made. When I installed the moss filtration towers in districts such as this one that I'm in right now, I forgot I have the special power to rapidly filtrate the district. This action will temporarily utilize workers' maintenance shafts and service tunnels for a quick blast of filtration. It should significantly decrease the squalor in that part of the city. With how bad squalor has gotten, that action may have not helped as much as I hoped it would. It has been solved, and Venom has once again left the city in peace. Well, not completely peaceful. There is still squalor. It's at a severe level now instead of catastrophic. That is way better than it was, but it still needs to be improved. I have finally gathered enough materials and Frostland teams to colonize Winterhome. This action may cause districts to shut down in New London. Return to Winterhome. Descending into the Valley of Winterhome will be very challenging. We need to divert resources, manpower, and attention from New London. Are you certain you wish to confront this challenge now? We are not well prepared to settle Winterhome. That's a little concerning. New London's critical resource needs are met. However, the city's trust level is too low, and New London does not have workers to spare. Both of those have been problems for a while now, and they're not improving as days go on. So I would say that we venture forth into Winterhome now, before the city trust goes any lower and I'm exiled, or I somehow completely deplete my city's workforce and we are left with close to zero workers in the city. I realize that this decision could be considered reckless, but the time is now. We need to return to Winterhome, and hope that the city doesn't fall when I turn my back to it. Send colonists to Winterhome. Steward, a radical group of stalwarts, has come forward with a proposition. They suggest ensuring that the leading members of the Pilgrims are included in the colonist group that will set out for Winterhome.
The Pilgrims have been a source of discord in New London.
One member of the stalwarts says,
We make sure most fervent among them join the main group of Winterhome colonists. With them gone, New London will be free from protests.
What should we do? A group must be sent to carry out the work at Winterhome. I'm guessing this is where the overall trust level comes into play, because I only have one option, which is to recruit colonists equally from all communities. Or I could come back later once the overall city trust improves. In order to make sure that the Pilgrim leaders are included in the colonist groups, I would actually need 25 guard squads, not city trust, which is arguably a harder resource to get than city trust. I could always go back to New London and ask the stalwarts for more guard squads, but that would take time that the city does not have. Instead, sending colonists equally from each faction in the city seems more reasonable. We all live there, so we should all take the risk in order to make this place survive together. I thought that would be a little bit more dramatic, but they are on their way. I just need to wait for them to arrive in Winterhome. They should be there in about 6 weeks, which gives me 6 weeks of spare time that I can use to do something else. I will be using this time to improve the city and my relationships with each faction. The relationship between me and the council is very important, and I am not very good at it. I guess you could say I have no social skills. But do world leaders really need social skills, or do they just need loads of money? It's debatable. As the research on the waste repurposing facility completes, the Pilgrims' demands have been met, which means our relationship with them improves and overall city trust rises. The next research project is going to be into advanced biowaste hothouses or my agreement with the Frostlanders. This building is a massive biowaste hothouse where natural bacteria are endlessly cycled to fertilize crops. This will increase my crop yields by 125 units. The negatives to this is that it will increase the disease in the city and marginally increase the tension in the city when built. This building will unlock the excessive fertilization district ability, which increases food output and disease. The upkeep for it is only 300 workforce, and it can only be constructed in food districts. Let's start this research project now. While that is in motion, is there any other ways I can improve my relationship with the Frostlanders, besides heating their homes? I don't want to do that for any faction, because that would mean that I'm making all the other factions mad. Maybe it's time to fund another faction's projects, besides the New Londoners. Please take my heat stamps, Frostlanders, to advance your interests. I'm interested to see what happens.
The fate of Winterhome.
The Winterhome expedition has arrived to the cursed city. The cores under the runes could be used to further upgrade New London's generator, bringing about levels of warmth we never dreamt of. To reach the cores, we would have to demolish the runes, split the earth open to access those that are buried and extract them quickly before toxicity renders Winterhome forever uninhabitable. Alternatively, we could seal the toxic fissures, forever burying most of the cores. We could bring an avalanche down to batten down the cracks, then work fast to manually close what remains. But afterwards, we could build a new city here and use it as a springboard for our expansion. Whichever approach we take, there will be no turning back. Our decision here will shape the power balance between stalwarts and pilgrims. This is the major choice I was warned about. I can choose to salvage Winterhome or settle Winterhome. I can tell you right now, I did not come all this way to expand my footprint across the Frostland. I still want to make New London the hottest place on Earth. Literally, I want to burn the frost away, and to do that, I will need plenty of cores and to upgrade the generator. Settling Winterhome is not a bad idea, but it's not what I came here to do. The only downside to this decision is that the stalwarts will become a very powerful group, and the pilgrims, well, my relationship with the pilgrims will be so broken beyond repair, it can never get better. Let's do our best to salvage Winterhome. Salvage Winterhome, this choice will realize the stalwarts' dreams and undermine any hope for the future the pilgrims wanted. Confirm your choice. I mean, the pilgrims should know that I've never been on their side. I've never tried to hide this fact. I've always been on the side of the stalwarts. Yes, I accept this choice and I choose to witness any consequences that happen hereinafter. I'm going to make the pilgrims so mad they'll want this city to burn. And it will burn so hot that the frost melts away.